right, welcome back to another episode of Poncha Talk. My name is Ellie. I'm host of Poncha Talk. And in this podcast, we talk about all things related to digital nomad, flexible lifestyle, and pursuing your passion and dreams. And today I'm excited to welcome you to our first ever podcast in the wild walkie-talkie episode. And Tadeu will be joining me on our little pod hike today. And he is a digital nomad from Portugal who traveled all over the world in the last couple of years and then now ended up back in his home country on the beautiful island of Madeira. So we will hear about his story while going on a little hike.
This is very funny. This is very funny, but also really beautiful.
Well, Tadeu, welcome to the podcast and this little adventure today. Maybe you start by introducing yourself and giving a high-level overview of your digital nomad life.
A high level overview. So hey, thanks for having me here. I just kicked the microphone. So I'm from Portugal, mainly from Porto, and I traveled. Well, I wanted to travel. That's pretty much everybody's dream, right? So at some point, I was like, I want to do it. I was working in a 9 to 5 office job, and I felt like it didn't suit me at all. So I was like, I don't know how, but I'm gonna make it. And then fast forward some years, and then I did it. So I started gradually. It was not something let's go crazy and go wild. I had to find my courage and work on my courage to do it. And so I started slow in the nomad thing, first shorter, closer places and shorter periods of time, until I ended up staying over a year abroad. In this case, in Asia. The idea was initially to stay 9 months to see if I was comfortable and to force me to be comfortable. And then in the end, I stayed over a year because I was too comfortable.
Going back to the beginnings, because you said you were forcing yourself out of your comfort zone. And what were your main concerns when you first started about?
I don't think it's actually a concern, but rather, I don't know, maybe the way that I was raised or something like that. It was just very, and the reality that we had, right? So there was no traveling before. It was just staying in the country and then occasionally do a vacation with friends here or there. Oh, we have friends.
There's a dog coming.
Dude, there's 2 dogs if you can count. Like 1 + 1 equals 2.
Okay.
I don't want to push you in the water.
Yeah.
But it was just I had never left home basically. I didn't get the chance to do Erasmus because at the time I couldn't do Erasmus. There I had other priorities that I need to fight for, and I didn't. I always studied in my city as well, so I had never left home at the time. But I really wanted to go, and also like generally prices were already a bit high, so it was not comfortable to leave home at all, considering the money that I was making.
Yeah.
So I was kind of forced to stay at the parents' home. Careful, don't drown again. So I was forced to stay at the parents for a long time, and then that was also something that I wanted to change. So I had to force myself to experiment living out in the wild and being afraid from being far from everything that's easy and already known.
And then, so then 9 months Asia, quite the big step.
Let me hold it. Okay, I'll do it like that. Okay, better.
Okay.
This gives you the night. By the way, the view is pretty.
Oh, this is really nice. Yeah.
The rock is amazing. Okay, so you were saying?
Okay, so then you went to Asia for 9 months.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time. Because before that, you said you only did weekend trips, huh? And like shorter vacations. Why 9 months
until Madeira and Poland, right? So
Yeah.
I started with a trip with my friends to Barcelona, and then I decided to stay one day extra there to stay completely alone. And to be fair, I was afraid of that simple thing. I was literally afraid because I was like, "Oh, I'm going to talk with people and stuff like that." And then the second time, I decided to go again to Barcelona, but I went for a full weekend to watch a concert. So the excuse was watching a concert. The reality was, yes, watching the concert, but also allowing myself to go there alone. I already knew the city because I had been there before with my friends, so it was not too uncomfortable. But it was a bit scary to not have people to talk to, like the usual friends, and having to figure out everything. And yeah, so that was the second time. Then I did Netherlands for a week and a half, and that was again scary. But and so I wanted to. The idea was that it was always uncomfortable for me, either a bit or very, and I wanted to be there in that uncomfortable place to just overcome those anxiety things. So
Yeah.
Netherlands, I did kind of a road trip, and in the first two cities, I knew someone from there. So the first city, I spent a lot of time with that person. The second one, I purposely tried to spend less time with with the person and more time on my own. So it was already gradually feeling more comfortable. And then I went to Amsterdam completely alone, and that was scariest. The 2 hours in Amsterdam, and I was already like being threatened of like a fight out of nowhere.
Oh,
And that was a I remember the event happened, and then just after it happened, I was like, okay, welcome to Amsterdam. It was a fun story, but at the same time, it was important in some way because it was probably one of the things that I was afraid of, like the expectedness of having to deal with other people alone. And at the same time, it was I can do it, I can manage. Like obstacles will come, and I will overcome them. It was. I think there's a good chance I'm gonna die here. However, now I'm ready to overcome obstacles after Amsterdam, right? So it's like I'm not afraid of a Madeira hike.
Nice, nice. When I first started uh, going more out of my comfort zone with my travels too, it's weird at first when you solo travel and just like doing things on your own. You have to really get used to just like sitting at a restaurant by yourself and
Yes.
not worrying so much about what other people are gonna think. Because honestly, eventually I learned nobody really cares. Uh, if you're there by yourself or not, it's only like in your head, but it takes some time getting used to and being comfortable just like being by yourself.
Yeah, it is. And actually, the restaurant thing is also something that I experienced. Like just the idea of going alone to a restaurant when I'm outside in the place was a bit weird. I actually find this topic really interesting because I don't know if you resonate with this, but
Hmm.
I usually thought that solo travels were like these super independent people that were like they were just fearless and
Are we
you
not?
know huh?
Are we not?
Well, I wasn't. That's the
Yeah,
point. Like
yeah,
it's not like I was magically born like this. If
true.
like like if I want to make a caption, like I forged myself into this. I wanted to be, so I looked out to how to make it. I was looking up to other people that were doing it
Mm.
as if they were in a different level than I was, and maybe they were, whatever. But I was not like that, and I needed to level up
Yeah,
to become
yeah.
that.
It's all about putting yourself in uncomfortable places and then dealing with it.
Yeah, if you know what you want, like go for it. Uh,
I don't think this is the path that I had in mind, but it'll take us where we need to go. I hope.
I, just for the record, I don't know where she's taking me.
Okay, so you had your first couple solo travel experiences, and then you came to Madeira as a
Mhm.
longer stop, right?
Yeah,
And that was back in the day before Madeira was the popular digital nomad destination that it is now.
it's just when
Right.
it started. So So after the Netherlands, I felt like okay, this is cool. I was also a bit or very not happy with like a normal 9 to 5 job. I mean, it was okay. It was I have nothing against it. It just didn't suit me. I wanted to explore. I felt like being in the office was actually holding me back
Mhm.
rather than appeasing me. And there's nothing wrong against um, staying in a 9 to 5 job. It has its pros and cons. It just didn't suit me as a person, right?
Right.
At the time. At the time, that's also an important thing. So I was like, okay, let's do something longer, something that I really need to uh, delve into or explore my how to say this. I don't know, my capability of living life alone independently, my independence. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I came to Madeira. Also, people spoke Portuguese, which is my native language. So in any case, it would be somehow
Yeah.
comfortable. And in the end, like I came for a month and I didn't want to leave. So at the time, that was the first and second wave of nomads in Madeira. So that's when things were starting to pop. It was insane because
Mhm.
we even had like some special rules because we were bringing some economy to Madeira. And so that was good when like all businesses were having problems. So that granted some flexibility that was a bit out of the ordinary, and also we were not too many, so it created this family feeling, and that's the
Yeah.
best way that I can put it. It's like people became family, and some friends that I have, they're really close, and 4 years later, I've had like some problems that I had to deal with, and people from that time they were there, because that's when we created that feeling. Yeah, I postponed the flight twice, and then I decided, okay, I need to come back here. So we had made a plan to come the following year. So same thing happened, and I had some trips in the middle, like to Poland, and that's when I started thinking of doing something longer, like Asia, for the nine
Cool.
months.
I like that you gave yourself 1 month on Madeira, because from my, like, experience, I think that's the minimum amount of time as a nomad that you should spend in a location to really get to know the place and to, like, meet the people and get, like, that feeling of community. Because it takes a little while to get settled, especially when you first arrive and when you first start traveling, I think.
So my take on that is like from my personal experience and from meeting other people will have different time frames about
Yeah.
how long it takes for them to like enjoy the place or feel at home, whatever. But I felt like a month from the people that I end up knowing, it's a good time frame for the minimum.
Yeah.
For me, what I learned, especially in Asia, when I spent there a year, right, and I traveled between multiple countries, what I experienced was that 1 month was the time that it took me for me to feel at home.
Yeah.
So the second month was actually the month that I started enjoying the most because when we travel, I'm sure you know this, but like when you, well, maybe you guys don't, so that's why we're bringing this one.
Yes.
When we travel and when we go to new places, things that we never thought of become relevant. Like simple things like where is the best restaurant to go to? Where is the closest or the best grocery store to go to? Grocery shop.
Mhm.
Where is the gym that I'm going to attend? Where do I need to rent a motorcycle? Where do I need to do a bunch of stuffs that are daily life that we usually don't think about? And usually all of these things take less than a month. And after a month, those things that should become ordinary, they're solved. So I feel
Mhm.
like after 1 month, I have the basic things sorted, and that's when I can start to explore and feel the place and the community and the culture, the people, the locals.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so for me, it's around a month, and then 2 months would be the ideal. And it's complicated also to leave after 2 months
Yeah, the longer you stay, the harder it gets to leave then, because then you start to get a little
to enjoy.
comfortable. Yeah, and because it is true. Like, I don't know, I also the grocery stores have different things depending on where you are, and enjoy the views. Yes. Oh my
Are you alive?
I was worried about you.
I'm alive. I'm alive. So we have a decision to make: left or right? Left. Let's go left. Looks easier.
So then let's jump to your Asia experience. How long did it take you to adjust there?
So Asia is like, there's a lot of things going on in Asia for me. When I arrived in Asia, I was told a couple of references. So the first place that I went to was Bali. And I was like, okay, I'm probably going to make Bali a base. So I knew that if I was going to travel a bit longer in Asia, I need to have a place that I can come back to, a place that I can feel enough at home and then explore around. So that was Bali. And I was lucky because when I arrived in Bali, I went with some people that I knew from Madeira, and some of them became like really close friends. And I ended up having a community there. A very big lesson that I learned. I actually want to hear your opinion about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I came for the first time to Madeira, one of my biggest fears when I left, because I left the place, was that I was never going to see these people again because I was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, I cried. I cried when I left Madeira. I took a picture of me crying because I felt, I don't know how, but I think that in the future I'm going to look at this with a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, I learned it was not true. And then in Bali, we were together. And then some of them, we traveled to the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was actually interesting because the people that I was closer to, we kept meeting. It's different from when you meet like everyday life, but it's not like I lost them. I was so afraid of that. I didn't lose them.
No, I agree with that. And I think the nomad community, it's smaller than you would think. We're like spread all over the world, but somehow you always end up in the same places and end up meeting the same people. Like I also have actually the podcast episode that I edited today is with one of my very good nomad friends. I met her in Spain, but then I also traveled with her to the Netherlands. I traveled to Cape Town with her. So we did a couple nomad trips together, and the people that you really click with, I think it's really easy to stay in touch because once you're like in this digital nomad bubble community, it's easy to coordinate travel. You have the same way of life, so it kind of flows together. And sometimes it's also just by coincidence. Like here on Madeira, for example, the community manager in Ponta do Sol, I met him 2 years ago in Valencia at a co-living. We were staying at the same place, and I had no idea that he would be the community manager here in Ponta do Sol. In Costa Rica, once I showed up to a beach volleyball meetup, and there was a guy there that I had met a year ago in Mexico. So we go the same paths.
Yeah.
A small community.
But so you're going to Asia, right?
Yes, going back to Asia. I have personally never been to Asia, actually. I was supposed to go, but then it was COVID. So I don't know anything about Asia because we talked about adjusting to new locations.
Uh-huh.
Were there different aspects of life in Asia that you had to adjust to that just kind of given here in Europe?
Like for me, Asia was literally life-changing. Literally, it really changed me a lot as a person. There was a big cultural shock in some places, which for me was like super interesting. So first place that I went to was India, and India was incredible. At the time, majority of my company worked from India, of my colleagues. So I went there to visit them. Our lead, the person that was like leading the team, he was also promoting some like team building events. He brought the team together. Like they're not usually that together; they're spread out. But we brought the team together in the same city, and then from there we also explored other places of India that are not common to, I don't know, to a random person. It's like going to a not so known place in your country that mostly locals know. And so I got to see a bit of the some of the realities of India that are so different from Europe. Some things came as a shock, and I loved it. So some things were really difficult for me to adjust. Like for example, I don't like spice food, and like everything there is spicy. Okay, pause. Not a preview. And it's the same as a while ago, but we were more up there. But still pretty. Made of different things, like not eating from plates, eating from leaves. It's it's just a bunch of things that I feel like whenever I meet someone that I see that is doing something differently, I'm not judging because I'm like, I don't know where you come from and how you've been taught or raised. And especially, it doesn't mean that the way that I do things is the best way that to be done. And India was a place that I learned a lot about it. For example, cows there are sacred. We don't touch cows, right? And in Portugal, we eat cows, right? So who are we to judge them, right? Because then we're giving them the right to judge us as well, right? So it puts a lot into perspective, a lot of things that happen. Then Thailand was very weird because Thailand has a very specific sexual culture because I guess prostitution there is very it's illegal, but it's common.
Hmm.
It's a weird thing. But so the dynamics there are very weird in general compared to what I'm used here to in Europe, like how men treat women and how women treat men. It's very different. So it came a bit as a shock there, like seeing a bunch of things that there are normal and here isn't. And then Philippines. Philippines also shocked me. Philippines was really interesting. It random house. Like
So cute though.
I wonder how deep it is. It's like embedded in the mountain.
Yeah.
So Philippines was interesting because like the moment I landed, or well, not the moment I landed, but look, just
Yes.
a few hours
Yeah.
we were driving, and there were so many kids all around, and I love kids. That brought me so much peace for some reason, and it made me question a lot of stuff because you don't see that among the kids here
Hmm.
in Portugal or whatever. And you see that a lot of them are actually happy, happier maybe than a lot of us are with a lot more.
Hmm.
So the way that they lived life there with what they had made me question a lot of things about my life. Like, what do I actually need to be happy if some of these people are actually happier than I am, and I'm considered to be the one with so many things?
Right.
What I think that they have more that we don't is each other. People are way more closer there, and so this is my opinion from what I people can critique it or whatever, but from what I saw outside, I really believe that over there, family has way bigger importance than in Europe in general. And I started to realize that it is a key difference in happiness. It's a key difference in happiness. They have a lot more of family values.
Hmm.
It's just more important for them, but also friends. And they have a lot of that there. That's one thing that I noticed that I think, and that's probably one of the reasons that I started traveling less, because I believed or I started to believe that that's an important ingredient for general happiness, your social relationships. And I started feeling like while traveling, it's hard to nurture them over the long term.
Mm.
And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to travel less.
Sort of. Yeah.
It's not like I don't want to travel, of course, that I feel like it's traveling. But if I'm constantly traveling, I'm meeting, I remember two guys that I met there. They ever see this podcast? They're both Ivan, one from India, one from Indonesia.
Hmm.
And I really like them. It's people that I really wanted to see succeed in life
Hmm.
because I think they have good values. And there's someone that, of course, that if I ever go to India or to Bali, I'm going to meet them. It's going to be amazing. But those are people that I would love to have on my daily basis.
Yeah.
And I realized that traveling removed a bit of this. And that was a downside.
You can go see. We have a waterfall here.
People,
Early morning. Beautiful. Um, yeah, I mean, it's actually a common theme that comes up in the podcast with whoever I talk to. It's we solo travel, but we're still seeking out community.
So it goes in line when we when you discuss this part of the feeling of belonging.
Hmm.
I think I personally believe that goes tied like and tied with the idea of the family that they have in Asia.
Yeah.
I started to accept that both are really important, and we just overlook the family part a lot.
Yeah. That makes sense.
When I was here on the first, you want me to carry it? I feel like
Am
you
I
can.
not doing a good job?
You are doing a good job, but I feel like you're struggling.
My sorry.
I want you to be free and happy.
My arm is already tired after holding it.
Oh, look at what a cute house. Boa tarde. Tudo bem? Casa bonita. Dou-lhe muito valor, sim senhor. Yeah, he's saying that he is an agriculture here, and like to sometimes not even on the street or whatever, he just decided to build this, and he's not giving it value, like if it's nothing important. But I think it's amazing. Acho mesmo incrível.
É,
Do you want to drink a glass of wine?
Sure.
Pode ser agora?
pode ser agora.
Okay, so random stories of Madeira. We're hiking. We met this lovely gentleman here that was telling me about, like, I think his daughter, who found a guy in Porto, and she just attracted him, and now he's here living. And he just invited us for a wine. Cheers.
Cheers. Obrigada.
It's actually very good. So we found out that Santana in Funchal is the place where all the pretty ladies are.
Ah.
You understand? You understand? I also think that other places, like I will say that Ribera Brava is also one, but he says that Santo Antonio works quite well because he got married there. And we're done with this house, where the cute doggy is, where we were very welcomed. Let's say that.
We were very welcome.
Yeah,
So-
lovely people. Wanted to
Yeah.
introduce us to the family.
We got
So-
some wine. We got some 45% aguardente. so-
55.
50. My Portuguese is not. good.
Yeah. No, it's like it's already kicking in.
Their first drunk Poncha Talk.
Well, I wouldn't consider it drunk.
Well, speak for yourself. We made it to the end of the hike.
Yeah,
This
we're-
is the views that we have now. But I think before we got distracted by the nice local offering of alcohol, and we were talking about community.
People.
And then we talked about you now choosing to settle down on Madeira.
Ah, eventually, yeah.
Yeah, I think we got
In
to
my
that
home
point.
country, right?
In your home country, as an, I don't know, what are you now? You just moved to a
I don't
different
know.
city,
Like I'm
technically.
finding my definition.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I used to be a nomad, and now so then I decided. Well, I know, starting to look at everything that's going on, and decided to buy a house. I was thinking between Bali and Madeira because it's those are the places that I tend to come to. And one of my points was, what is one place that I wouldn't mind always coming back to if it was COVID times? I was like, Madeira would be amazing. That was really helpful. It's also close to family, where Aus Valley would be very far.
Yeah.
So ended up staying here. So yeah, buying a house, it was about time, but it was also what I was saying about connections, about not always having to leave the people that I like behind. I don't like that, so I don't want to create opportunities for that. I want to be able to stick to a place where I can be reliable. People know that I come back to.
Yeah. Well, but now you're in a place and you're staying in a place. And I'm also thinking for myself of how that's going to turn out because I'm staying in a place, but I'm in a community where people tend to leave.
That's the
Does that
annoying
feel
part.
weird? Yeah.
Yeah, it does change perspective in some things. So I'm not as previously, especially when I arrived first in Madeira, I wanted to go to all of the events, to everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun. You would meet all these people. Now it's you're at least I'm a bit more mindful about who I'm meeting. Are you staying? Are you leaving? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Because it's not that people are not worth meeting, but it's hard to meet someone, go over the same conversations, and then sometimes you get friends with these people and even close friends. but then one day you're gonna be upset and sad at home, and you want to talk with your friends. They're not here, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that made me want to stay. So there is, I do notice a difference. I still like to meet people regardless, but I started to put more effort into personal relationships,
Yeah. Yeah.
friendships as well.
That makes sense. I think I'm kind of doing the same now
Thank you.
too. Yeah. Because that's also
Because you traveled a lot as well,
I
right?
traveled a lot, and I also eventually got to the point where because I used to do a month in a place, and it was too much. Because you're like constantly thinking of the next place, and then the whole like getting settled in a place that we talked about before as well. But then you already have to plan the next move, and you're meeting new people at the same time. It gets a lot after a while. So I came to Madeira. I really liked it. So it was just, I think, good timing for me to just be like, yeah, I'll continue to come back here. That's what I did initially. I just kept coming back for remote work here for a couple of weeks at a time, for a month at a time, actually. And I really liked it. And then it just happened to
So
work out that I can end up here.
what's your take on
But
the meeting people that are coming and going? That's
uh, the same, I think. The people that are staying longer, you are just like drawn to because you're in the same. But when I know somebody's staying for 6 months or so, it's like, oh, great, let's become friends. And when I know somebody's only here for a week, of course, I still love to like hang out and show them around the island, but it's different. And then it's sad when people leave. Like I said, just yesterday, I was at a friend's farewell party
and
because
tomorrow, right?
tomorrow's a birthday.
It's a birthday.
Yeah. Of
Excellent.
somebody who's staying here for 6 months. So I have to go there to continue that relationship.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, but yesterday was another farewell of it's really yeah, that's annoying because she was a really good friend and we had a lot of fun together and she might come back. That's the thing. I think people tend to come back to Madeira, so that's always nice to know, but you never know when.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like I think friendships are nurtured a lot of times when it's also not expected. Like I personally, I don't come up with people with my problems,
Hmm.
and usually I'm a very outgoing person, a very happy person. So it's usually hard to tell when I'm not very happy. So it requires people to get to know me very well, and that requires time. That requires people seeing me acting differently in context, and that requires time. It's
Yeah.
on what you were saying though about like finding a basis. Then I there was a point for me that was like I remember it very vividly that it was like there's something wrong here, and I'm wondering if you had the same. I was in Bali, and Bali is beautiful. It has a lot of waterfalls, and at some point, one of my friends from Madeira, from the first wave of Nomad, Alisa, she texted me, "Hey, I'm going to a waterfall tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And I don't remember what I was doing. Maybe I could have gone, but I was just not feeling drawn to it,
Hmm.
and I ended up not going. And I was like, isn't that the whole? I was thinking at the time, isn't that the whole purpose that I came to all of these places, like to travel and to see all these beautiful places? So if I'm not going to the waterfall, what is it that I'm here, and why am I enjoying being here? And I realized that at some point, after seeing a lot of pretty stuff, it just becomes standard. That's one. And I realized that that was not necessarily what was making me happy. It was
Hmm.
a bunch of things that I eventually, over the travel, I found out this makes me happy. This makes me happy. And whenever I would move to a new place, I would bring these things as fast as possible. But also the
Yeah.
people, because I had people that I wanted to be with and hang out with that would just generally make it less of a need to go and see waterfalls. And so it's still pretty. Like look at this. Like it's hard not to enjoy a pretty place. It's in nature. It's really important. But then I realized that yeah,
That's
people are
not
not good.
everything. Yeah.
So that I remember that because when she asked me that, I almost felt guilty because like I'm not doing what I came here for.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I realized that there's something more. There's probably a hidden reason why I was traveling. That was not just seeing waterfalls, and I really believe that.
Yeah.
Did you have the same
This is
experience?
it was more so the whole like planning and logistics that go into continuously traveling. Like when I'm at a place, I really enjoy it, but constantly having to think about where am I gonna go next and where am I gonna stay and how are things gonna work out, how am I gonna get there. it's just like after a while it got too much to me, and I realized like I didn't have any other places on my list where I'm like, oh, I have to see this, I have to see that and this. Like I kind of went through my nomad bucket list. I hit all the places, and I was like, ah, yeah, I can. It's actually nicer to go back to a place that I already know, because the whole settling in, it doesn't take as long. I feel right at home, and then I can just go out and enjoy myself and meet new people. And
But
yeah,
you could always, so it would also be a possibility if that is the question, that is the reason. You could always do like, okay, I'm gonna do 1 year in one place and then change every year, and it doesn't seem like that's what we're looking for.
I mean, right now, I told myself for Madeira, I will stay here this year. I don't, I don't know about next year. Maybe I hate it here after a year, because I'm still very confused that the island is so small. I don't know
You're
if I will.
confused. That's the best way to. I'm confused. Like, this is not how life is supposed to happen. Small places. What is this?
Right, and I'm not sure if like after a year here, like I might get tired of it. Who knows? So, but I told myself I will give myself 1 year here to see what it brings and what like
So you
evolves.
also did the deadline like I did, like at least a year.
At least a year, but I'm not saying like after a year I have to move. After a year, I will reassess the situation.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like every. Well, I don't feel like every because I haven't done this multiple times. But like after 9 months, 9 10 months, I started feeling like it was a bit uh, copy paste other things,
yeah.
and I felt like I need to explore a bit. But then I went to the mainland 3 4 months, and then and I was missing it. I was missing this, so I had to come back here. And the things that I felt like it was getting a bit boring or whatever, it's not boring
Mm.
anymore. It's just I went out. It's like I got a detox, and I came back here, and it's amazing. It's still amazing. It's interesting. That's how I felt. Yeah, I mean, this was an attempt. It was an attempt at trying a podcast while walking without thinking too much. Like thinking too much, it was like, oh hi, let's do this one. Oh, microphones. Let's just charge one and stuff like that. So she tried her best. I tried my best, and we hope you guys take some intakes from this. That's it.
Yes. Thank you for joining the podcast and the conversation, for coming on the adventure and going off path and whatever, all the things we did. It's been really fun. I will do my best in editing. Thanks everybody for listening if you're still here. And we'll see you in the next episode, whatever it may be. Thank you. Bye.